Regularly scheduled programs will not be seen tonight so that we may bring you the NFL live and in color.
Let's knock them on their backs, butt them in the mouth, knock their ass in the dirt. That's what we got to do.
Hey, baby! We're going to be here all day, baby! I like this kind of party. I like this kind of party, baby. Get in here. I got one thing to say. This is when the big dogs come out. Okay? You can't roll the big dogs. Stay on the board.
Welcome to Basically a Football Show.
It's the National Football League. And we're going to preview it here on Basically a Football Show. I'm Zach. That's Greg. And Greg, training camp's done. Hard Knocks is over. Week 1 starts on Thursday. Broncos and Panthers. Let's break down some of these teams. We'll start with the AFC West and the Super Bowl champion Denver Broncos. Peyton Manning's final year. He leaves the team. He's retired. The starting quarterback position goes to Mark Sanchez. No, wait. It goes to Paxton Lynch. No. It goes to Austin Davis? No. Trevor Siemian, your new starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos. Second-year player out of Northwestern. So after winning a Super Bowl, and despite having most of that Super Bowl defense come back, I think pretty much all of that Super Bowl champion defense, including Von Miller, the Super Bowl MVP, come back, we come back around to the question of, is the Broncos offense any better or worse off without Peyton Manning? Because it wasn't exactly a barn-burning offense last season.
The only thing that you would have to really be concerned with if you're a Broncos fan, from that perspective, you lose the experience and the knowledge. Peyton Manning, let's be honest, he wasn't good last year, but he also wasn't stupid. Peyton Manning didn't make decisions that a younger quarterback and more inexperienced quarterback might make. That could be a huge difference throughout the season. But other than that, no, I don't think that they're really any worse off. I just don't know that I see them being anywhere near what they were last year as far as a Super Bowl contender. I don't know what to make of this team. We talked about it on Basically a Sports Show. I've never seen a Super Bowl champion come into a season looking quite like these guys do this year.
They're going to be a playoff contender still. I mean, the defense is too good for them not to be.
See, I don't think they're going to be.
You don't think they're even going to be around like wild card contention at the end of the year?
Not in the AFC. I think if you put them in the NFC, maybe. But the AFC West is going to be tough this year.
The second wild card was a 10-6 team with the Steelers last year.
Yeah.
And they were 12-4 last year. So you see that big of a regression that they can't get to 10 wins again?
I think so, because, again, I'm going to go back to what I said before with Peyton Manning. He wasn't good, but he was experienced, and he was smart. Trevor Siemian, he doesn't have that wealth of knowledge to get them through tough times, and I think that's going to be the key difference. The defense is going to be great again, but if you've got a defense that's playing lights out like they're going to and the offense can't get anything done, you start getting a divisive locker room, and the next thing you know, things can get really out of control fast. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team again this year. I don't.
It's got to be the defense that really spurs things on. And maybe the offense catches fire. Maybe Trevor Siemian takes a couple weeks to gel, and he can get the offense to respectable numbers. Maybe halfway through the year they go to Paxton Lynch.
Regardless of who it is, by the time they figure things out, it might be too late. I like the other teams in that division a lot better, except maybe the Chargers.
Chargers are going to be a weird team again. And
a lot of people are high on the Chargers this year. I don't know what they're seeing that I'm not. I just don't see it. Phillip Rivers is good. What else do they have? They've got a pretty good wide receiver in Keenan Allen and Danny Woodhead. Okay.
Yeah, they got nothing in terms of a running attack. The offensive line, it can be a question. Defensively, fine. This is a team that they had a negative point differential, obviously, 4-12 last year. But I don't know how you go from 4-12 with that team and not really making too many big changes.
Yeah, what did they do
to get yourself back up into contention? I don't think so. Joey Bosa, once he finally starts to play, but I just think from everything kind of thrown into a big pot, it's just a big dysfunctional organization.
Yeah,
we mentioned it on the sports show. They're the football Clippers now. It's such a weird spot that I don't think there's any way, even if they had made some personnel improvements, I think just based on a culture of a team, I still don't think that they'd even make it to 500 this year.
And then you throw in all the the LA San Diego stuff and all that. They didn't do anything significant to improve. The one chance they had to really improve on defense, they kept the guy out of camp over contract language. I just don't see it. But a lot of people are saying, they could be a sleeper this year. Maybe they will be, but I'm not betting on it. I think that they're looking at about a lot of the same as last year, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but even last year, Phillip Rivers put up one of his best seasons of his career in terms of numbers, but he's still going to go against the defense of the Broncos and the defense of the Chiefs and the defense of the Raiders. The Chiefs are probably right about where they were last year. They were an 11-5 team, probably going to be right there too. But the Raiders are a team that just keeps improving. I got the Raiders winning this division.
I got them making this a wild card. I think the Chiefs won the division, but I like this Raiders team an awful lot. You were big on them last year. You could see this happening last year, and I'm with you this year. I think they're going to be a really good football team.
That Derek Carr to Amari Cooper connection is something that really, really works for them on offense. They're not going to catch anybody by surprise again this year, but I still think they have the talent to do that. They've improved a little bit there on the offensive side. Defensively, you got Khalil Mack anchoring that defense.
Great player. I think they're at least a 10-win team. And if things go their way, it could go even better. But I really like them. They've kind of found their way back.
I like the way they're going. And, again, this could be a last season in Oakland type of thing for them, too.
They're always possibly in their last year in Oakland, no matter what.
Yeah.
But I think that the team I like the best in this division is the Chiefs. The Broncos being down without a quarterback, this is due for the Chiefs to step in. The only question I have about the Chiefs, and I read about this in a couple of the previews, is that Alex Smith, while we used to like to knock him, I think he's a good, solid quarterback, but he's not a guy that goes for the big play a lot. He's too risk-averse to take them to the Super Bowl. So that's going to be interesting to see, but I think the Chiefs win this division.
I agree with that sentiment, though. I think Alex Smith is a very good quarterback. He's a great game manager. He does what that team needs it to do until you get to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And when you're in the playoffs and it's do or die, you can't be conservative sometimes. You have to go for it. You have to make some sort of big play. And I just don't see it there. Alex Smith has morphed himself into a very serviceable NFL quarterback, but he's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He just isn't. And, of course, the Andy Reid factor thrown into that, too.
Right.
It's an Alex Smith and an Andy Reid problem where, yeah, they're very good, just not good enough to get you to that next level.
So, in this division, you like the Raiders?
I like the Raiders as the division champion, and I'll go ahead and stick with you and say the Chiefs as the wild card. I have a hard time thinking the Broncos will fall so far that they're not even in wild card contention towards the end of it. Just that defense in Von Miller, it's just too good for me to just simply throw them away as a non-contender this year. But they'll hover around wildcard contention. I don't think they'll make it. And then the Chargers in the basement again, 4-12, 3-13, something like that. AFC South. Look, this is not a good division. And despite it having my former flame, the Indianapolis Colts. And Andrew Luck, you hope that he's healthy all year, and that'll be the difference in the division. But I don't know. I think people are high on the Jaguars making improvements from 5-11. They think that the defense keeps getting better and that Blake Bortles is going to finally put up some points. I don't know about that.
I agree with all of that, but I don't think that makes them anything more than from 5-11 to 7-9.
Yeah, 7-9 might be their ceiling. And then Houston gets Brock Osweiler in there as their quarterback, and he's fine. He's better than what they had.
Yeah.
He's better than Brian Hoyer. He's better than what's his name, Brandon Weeden.
Wasn't Case Keenum involved in that crew for a while too? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
Different Houston quarterback, different University of Houston quarterback. Who was it? I forget.
Anyway,
either way, it's. If Osweiler can really take the reins there and do something, then they're going to be a threat in the division only. I don't think whoever wins this division, even if it's the Colts, because the Colts just they haven't done enough to fix their problems still.
That's the thing with this team. It drives me nuts. They've got a pretty decent core there, but they don't do anything to improve.
The only improvement they really made on the offensive line, they drafted Ryan Kelly out of Alabama. He's going to be the starting center. Great. That's a good anchor for the offensive line. But the center can only do so much. If the tackles are letting defensive ends have free reign in Andrew Luck, he's going to play 6 games again this year, and you're going to have to rely on your backup quarterback, who I don't even know who it is anymore, but you don't have the veteran smarts of Matt Hasselbeck to guide you through a couple games.
No.
I think part of the transitioning from the Colts to the Rams for me is one of the things that makes it easier is I look at this Colts management, and as much as I love, I really like Andrew Luck. It seems like going to be a great guy, and could be one of the great quarterbacks to play in this game. But Robert Ursay is a terrible owner when it comes to fixing things. And, he has his own personal issues. Ryan Grigson has been a god-awful general manager. Just doesn't seem to acknowledge the problems, or he does acknowledge the problems, it just chooses not to fix them. And Chuck Pagano as the coach, he's been pretty good sometimes. He got a big extension in the off season. I don't know why. he could be cut. He could be fired within the first 2 years of that extension. The Colts are a team that has a lot of problems that they refuse to fix, and Andrew Luck can only do so much. And there was always a lot of comparisons to him following in Peyton Manning's footsteps. And even Peyton Manning can only do so much if the team was constructed as it is now.
Well, we saw it with Peyton Manning when he played there. Obviously it wasn't the same front office, but essentially the same climate or whatever you want to call it, with the Colts. And as great as he was, and he played, the bulk of his greatness took place in Indianapolis, they just were always this close. And I just understand the team. You're right. They don't get any better. They don't address glaring problems that they have.
Frank Gore is still their running back. They're not going to be able to run the ball again.
No, and he's
still play defense.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, it's kind of similar in a way to to use a baseball analogy, like Mike Trout with the Angels. You're kind of wasting a generational talent here with Andrew Luck.
And even when it comes to his throwing options, he has T.Y. Hilton. Very good. T.Y. Hilton is fine. Who else? Who's he going to throw the ball to?
I don't know.
Is
Marvin Harrison available?
Yeah, right. Can Reggie Wayne come back and suit up for a couple games? This is a bad division, I think. Yeah, I mean, Houston should be better with Brock Osweiler. The Jaguars are supposed to be improving. Tennessee is a mess too. They need a new coaching staff, I think. But Mariota is supposed to be. I think Mariota is going to get wasted down there too.
Yeah, and who's it? Their coach is what's Mike Mularkey, right?
Mike Mularkey.
Yeah, come on.
Still, somehow.
Come on. Is it just cheap? Is that why you keep him around? I don't understand it. But
are they not ready to take that next step? Do they think they need to accrue more draft talent? So they think, hey, we're going to suck for a couple of years. Then once we have the talent in place, we'll get rid of this guy.
With the Texans though, I mean, with Osweiler, I guess were they that close last year? If they'd had a better quarterback, it would have. I mean, they're 9-7 and they won
9-7,
right?
won the division. Yeah.
They also picked up Lamar Miller from Miami, which I think might be a nice move.
Yeah, and I mean, when you remember the playoff game they played, they played Kansas City, right?
Right.
They couldn't do anything. The Texans, they were pretty bad. That was a pretty bad football game, to be honest, between the two of them.
It's I don't know, between them and the Colts, I think I would take the Texans honestly over the Colts right now.
I think so too, just because again, the other thing working for the Texans is they still have J.J. Watt on defense.
Right.
That defensive line is going to cause havoc. And I mean, when you mention that defensive line in the Colts offensive line, Andrew Luck's going to get sacked at least 12 times between the two games against the Texans. Yeah, I guess if you had to pick somebody, I would go with Houston too, just based on somebody has to.
Yeah, and I don't think either one of us have a wild card coming out of this division, right?
No, there's no wild card. Yeah. No way. Do you think there are a lot of people that are trying to jump on that Jacksonville train? Do you think that they have improved that much, or that another year with Gus Bradley will make them a better team?
I think they'll be better. I think they're going to be pesky, and that's fine. I just don't see them as being – I just don't see you making a jump from 5 wins to probably what would it take, at least 9 to win that division, 10 to really be seriously in the playoff hunt. I don't think they're quite there yet. I like Blake Bortles. I like the direction they've been going in, but I think they're still a year away at least, maybe 2. Mm-hmm. Even in a bad division, though, I mean, they've got, 6 games against other teams that are beatable. But I don't see it. I think they'll be improved, but I don't think they're playoff ready yet. I think that they, we're looking at 7-9. 8-8 would be a really nice season for them. But no, I don't see them as there yet. And then you got the Titans bringing up the rear.
Yeah, this division will play the AFC West and the NFC North.
Ooh. Well, the NFC North got a little bit easier because quarterbacks are dropping like flies.
Right. You still got to play the Packers.
Yeah.
And
I think that I'm with you. The Texans, the defense is going to make the difference, and that's enough to give them the division. I think the Colts are headed, and I think they're headed backwards. They were 2 years ago. They looked like a team that was really on the way up, and they just, it just didn't happen. And now they're coming down the other side of the hill. I don't think they're going to get better. I think that this year they could easily end up 7-9, just as easy as they could go 10-6. I think.
Yeah, I want to think that Andrew Luck would be enough for the Colts to be a division champ again, but there's just too many holes elsewhere. So I got to go with Houston as well, based on the defense and the hope that Brock Osweiler is a somewhat competent quarterback for them. AFC North, Cincinnati won the division last year, 12-4. Pittsburgh was a wild card at 10-6. Baltimore. And then your Cleveland Browns, Greg. A much improved Cleveland Browns. Going to win the division? Challenge for a playoff spot?
I think they're going to be worse than last year, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Well, it is a bad thing.
Even though they've gotten like a quarterback that can kind of throw the ball at least.
There's so many rookies, and it's, of course, another rebuilding year, another new coaching staff, another whole new thing. Although I will say that with the Browns this time around, I'm a little more confident than I normally am with a regime change. This one seems like it might actually know what it's doing a little bit, but they're still going to bring up the bottom of the division. I think they'll be more competitive, more fun to watch, but they're still not going to be very good. And then again, there's a part of me that thinks that maybe the Browns have one of those, all of a sudden you go, well, look at these kids can play, and they, maybe they come out and they roll out to a 6-10, 7-9 season. Who knows?
I would think that that's the high point, is probably a 6-10.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And I think that's, where they can aspire to be. Baltimore, I think Baltimore's a team that's going to be worse. I think Baltimore is going to be worse than Cleveland. Oh, yeah.
Than Cleveland?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing I like about the Ravens anymore. Is Joe Flacco going to all of a sudden be his elite self again? Are they going to be able to run the ball like they used to with Ray Rice? Maybe they'll be better if they have a healthy defense, but I don't have any confidence in what the Ravens are trying to do.
I think that they're going to be about the same as last year, maybe a tad better because the defense is healthy.
But when it comes to everybody else, it's the Bengals and Steelers. One of those teams will win the division. One of those teams will be the wild card. Pittsburgh is as good as ever. Antonio Brown is still the best receiver in the league right now. And Ben Roethlisberger is a guy that doesn't seem to diminish with age either. If anything, his passing game has improved as the years have gone on. I
like the Steelers a lot this year. I think they're a team they got the potential to break the spell and maybe get through and get past the Patriots. The biggest question to me in this division is Marvin Lewis and the Bengals. Mm-hmm. If they come out and do what they have done for however many years it's been now, and they lose in the first round again, it's got to be it for him, right?
How did he not get fired after this last one? How is Vontaze Burfict still on that team? Like, how was he not cut immediately after that? For me, that last loss was inexcusable.
I think the thing with me with that game, the first penalty, you can almost excuse it because it's the heat of the moment. It's intense NFL playoff football. The second one is where you go, somebody's got to go. Because that team was not disciplined enough. After they had already screwed themselves with one 15-yard penalty, they piled on and gave themselves another one. That's just inexcusable. That is an undisciplined, dumb football team.
Yeah, they're still going to be pretty good on offense. Andy Dalton is a quarterback that I still just haven't been able to buy into as a big-time quarterback.
Kind of like an Alex Smith, basically.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, yeah. He's good, but he also loses some games where you say, I guess he should have lost that game, huh? I don't know what his ceiling is, and I don't really know what his floor is either. He's just kind of a pretty decent quarterback.
Yeah, he's a game manager. I think he's probably not quite as risk-averse as Alex Smith is, but basically kind of the same type of thing where you could see you can ride him to 10, 12 wins maybe, playoff berth, but I don't see him taking them to the Super Bowl.
Which one of these teams do you see winning the division over the other one?
I think the Steelers. First off, Mike Tomlin is a great coach. Mike Tomlin's Pittsburgh Steelers team never does what the Bengals team did last year in that playoff game. Those roles are never reversed.
Yeah.
You never see the Steelers do that. And I like the Steelers. I think the Bengals, probably 10-6 this year, wild card playoff, and they probably go out again in the first round, and there you go. And we're right back here next year either going, how did Marvin Lewis survive again, or they finally got rid of him.
No, I agree. I just because of how explosive that Steelers offense can be, I'd put them at the top of that division. And the Bengals still obviously going to be a pretty decent team, wild card team. I think Baltimore's going to be bad. Maybe Cleveland has some kind of weird season that they throw it together and they can be a outside wild card contender. But I don't see either of those teams breaking through now. AFC East, there's only one thing that you really have to talk about with this division, right? Tom Brady's suspension. Jimmy Garoppolo will be the starting quarterback for the first 4 games.
The biggest question is, what will the Patriots' record be in those first 4 games?
Yeah.
Do they go 3-1? Do they go 2-2? Are they 1-3? That's the question. That's really it.
Even if they lose those 4, and say Tom Brady only wins 10 games, still probably enough to win the division.
Yeah, they're still 10-6. They're still division champions, and we're right back where we always are. I don't think it's a matter of the Patriots being that great this year. It's just that the other teams just aren't good enough to catch them.
The Jets were 10-6. They tied with the Steelers in record, but lost out on the tiebreaker. That defense has been improved. I don't know. I think the Jets could be the wild card here in terms of kind of screwing things up and being in there. But they're also a team that I think they kind of surprised people last year, and they're not going to sneak up on you again.
That's where I'm at. I think the Jets are a real regression candidate, as they say. I think they're going to be terrible, but I don't know that they can go 10-6 again. They might, and I'd like to see it, but I think they're right there where they could go either way real easy.
I don't see them being terrible, but I think 9-7 is probably where they finish.
Basically, it's the Patriots. And then you've got, okay, of the 3, which one's the one that's going to step up and be like, oh, look, these guys might be on the rise. Is it going to be the Bills? Is it going to be the Dolphins? Is it going to be the Jets?
We ask those questions about the Bills and Jets or the Bills and Dolphins every year.
Right, exactly.
The Bills and Dolphins start off like 4-0, and it's, oh, my God, here they come. And then end of the year comes around, and they're 8-8.
Yeah. Which one's going to be the one this year that accidentally wins 10 games? Is it the Dolphins? Is it the Bills? Is it the Jets? Who do you like? If I had to pick out of the 3, the one I like the best probably is the Jets.
Buffalo's taking steps back.
Yeah, I mean, they looked so hopeful there for a little while, but now I don't see them moving forward.
They gave Tyrod Taylor that big extension, and I don't – why? Like, yeah, he was a fine quarterback, but he's the guy that you want to build around going forward?
Yeah, I know.
And then the Dolphins, is Ryan Tannehill actually good?
He is the poor man's Andy Dalton or Alex Smith, and that's not necessarily a compliment. I think that he's a guy that's a lot like those two, but not quite as good as they are. And if those two can't get teams that are better with talent all around them to a Super Bowl, there's no way that Tannehill is going to take the Dolphins anywhere. The Dolphins are just a boring mess.
I agree there. They're kind of a bore.
It's right in the middle team.
Yeah, but Patriots division again, and it's also one of those things where you'd be insane to pick somebody else to win the division. It's the same thing as we talked about with Alabama on the college show. Until they officially go away, the Patriots are still going to be a division champion. They're still going to be, at the very least, a playoff team. They're still going to be a Super Bowl contender. As long as Tom Brady is there, as long as Bill Belichick is there, as long as that system is still in place, the Patriots will be the Super Bowl favorite out of the AFC until otherwise stated. Move over to the National Football Conference. And the NFC East, the Redskins won the division last year at 9-7. Eagles were 7-9. Cowboys 4-12. Giants 6-10. The Cowboys are gonna hurt again because they have Romo out for 6 to 10 weeks.
Isn't this division exactly like it was last year?
The difference, I think, is the Eagles are going to be worse.
Right.
They get rid of Sam Bradford. Maybe that's addition by subtraction. And Carson Wentz, their number 2 overall pick, is going to be the day 1 starter. I don't know what that means. I don't know if the Eagles are going to be good. The Redskins, Kirk Cousins is getting solidly the starter. That's a positive thing. They get Josh Norman on defense, and that'll help. I guess out of the 4 teams, the Redskins are still the best team of the 4, right?
I like them to win the division. I think that the Redskins are probably the team to beat in that division. The Cowboys, right down to Romo being out again, I think the window's closed on the Cowboys, hasn't it, at this point? Had
Romo been there, I would have picked the Cowboys to win the division. But without him, they'll be better, I think, because I think Dak Prescott looks to be like a decent fill-in quarterback. But overall, I think they're still not going to be very good. The Giants are still going to be where they are, and the Eagles are going to be another question mark.
It's a bad division.
I think the Cowboys still improve, but I don't think it's not going to be enough to challenge Washington.
I think they'll be better than 4-12, definitely.
Yeah, I think I put Philly in last, Giants in third, and the Cowboys second.
I would flip-flop Dallas and the Giants, but other than that, I agree with you. I think it's Washington. I think then the Giants. If anybody's going to surprise in that division, it's going to be the Giants, but I wouldn't bet on it. And then Dallas. And I think Philly really drops off. What were they, 7-9 last year?
Yeah.
I could see them easily, 5 wins or less this season.
Or maybe Carson Wentz is the second coming.
Maybe. But do they have anything else besides him? That's the question.
No. It's just a crappy division.
A couple things that are going to be interesting, though, is you never know what's going to carry over from the preseason to the regular season, but Ezekiel Elliott looked pretty good in the preseason.
Yeah.
Now, whether that carries over, who knows?
I think he'll be good.
Yeah.
I think he'll be pretty good.
But, yeah, I think it's Washington, and then draw 3 out of a hat and see what happens. Hell, draw 4 out of a hat and see what happens. It might be that bad.
Move on to the NFC North division. And this was going to be an interesting division at the top. Then Teddy Bridgewater tore his ACL. Or was it MCL?
He blew up his knee really badly. That's what I know.
Yeah, it was in practice. He went down, it dislocated his knee, and it's just a weird thing. It's a tough one to take if you're Minnesota. You won the division last year, 11-5. You lost a tough playoff game at home, and you thought that they had another shot to make some improvements and get better this year and make some noise. But they trade for Sam Bradford, and I guess their starting quarterback options right now are Sam Bradford or Sean Hill. Brand new stadium. Things were going to be great. It was going to be a breakout season for Minnesota again. And I don't think they're going to come even close to any of those projections.
Really, it comes down to if Bradford can play at all. I don't think he can, but...
By the way, they traded a first and a fourth.
To get Sam Bradford?
Yeah.
That's desperation. That's an awful lot to give up for that guy.
And so with Bridgewater going down, the division looks like it's going to be another cakewalk for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. There's no reason that they shouldn't win the division with the things as it's stacked up, because Detroit, they lose Calvin Johnson to early retirement. He's not going to be, the Lions are going to be worse. And the Bears are going to be the Bears. They're probably going to be... I don't even think the Bears are going to be worse than they were last year. I don't think they're going to be better. I think 6-10 is probably where the Bears finish up again, too.
Pretty much, yeah. Packers get Jordy Nelson back this year, so that's important for them. Yep. With Bridgewater going out with the Vikings, it pretty much makes it the Packers and everybody else. I'm trying to think if Bradford's ever had a decent enough season where you would have a little bit of hope, where you would go, okay, maybe he can be a guy that can get us to 10 wins.
No, his problem has always been injuries, and then kind of a dysfunctional St. Louis Rams team that never could really build anything around them.
So it's it's the Packers, and then you've got the Lions. Wow, they're going to be.
I don't even know what to do with the Lions.
They've got a good quarterback. I mean, Matthew Stafford's a pretty good quarterback, but I don't know who he throws to now.
They brought in Anquan Bolden and Marvin Jones. The defense is something that keeps kind of diminishing year after year.
So just one of those teams that the window opened for a second, then it closed almost as fast as it opened. They were really on the rise there 2 or 3 years ago. And
they made the playoffs that one time.
People like to talk about the Cleveland Browns and the futility of that franchise, and believe me, it's well deserved. But the Lions, being a Lions fan is no walk in the park either.
It might even be worse.
It might be worse overall.
Well, I think the difference with Cleveland is when they were the original Browns, they would be competitive and get to the playoffs and lose in terrible fashion. The Lions have just been bad. They're just flat out a bad football team.
I'm trying to think. In my life, I think the Lions have made the playoffs maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't know. And they've got good fans, and they play in a good facility.
Great state. Yeah.
Good looking uniforms, the whole bit. And I don't know. They're just the Lions.
But yeah, this is Green Bay's division. If there's no reason for them to lose. If there is a reason for them to lose, it's because they don't have John Kuhn anymore. So they don't have some big, meat slab of a fullback to throw in for downs occasionally and have everyone yell, Kuhn.
I think that their biggest concern, just like anybody with a franchise quarterback, is, you keep Aaron Rodgers healthy and you should win the division. If they improved a little bit on the defense, maybe they're back to Super Bowl contention again this year. Who knows? But, stay healthy. The division's yours, and then take it from there.
To the AFC or the NFC South, your NFC champion, Carolina Panthers, 15-1 last year, won that division with ease. Another feat that they look like they're poised to do again. But you still got Cam Newton. You still got Luke Kuechly on defense, the leaders of both those respective units. Still going to be very good. I think still miles better than every other team in that division.
The Panthers could lose 5 more games than they lost last year, and they still won that division by 2.
Yeah, I think so. The Falcons, I don't know if the Falcons are going to be any better than they were. I don't even know if they're going to be any worse.
I think they're right about the same.
I think they're about the same. I think the Saints are probably about the same. And I think Tampa Bay is a little bit better. And that kind of puts all those teams right around the same mark because Atlanta was 8-8, New Orleans was 7-9, Tampa was 6-10. I think I'm going to have to say that, as much as I like Drew Brees, I think the Saints are probably the last place team out of this group.
Probably. I'd agree with that. The Falcons have a shot. They were 8-8 last year. Really an 8-8 season, if you can stay the same and play the same level and you get 2 of those games to go your way and you're 10-6 all of a sudden, you're a playoff contender. I don't know if that's going to happen with the Falcons, but of the rest of that division, I really want to say that I like Tampa Bay and I like the direction they're headed in, and I think they could make some noise. But I think they're kind of like the Jaguars. They're still a year or 2 away from being in a position to do that. I think they'll be a little bit better. It's Carolina, and really, there's a huge drop-off down to second place in that division. And I'm going to go with the Falcons in second, and then maybe Tampa Bay, and then the Saints. I'm with you. I think the Saints bring up the rear this year.
The South plays the NFC West and the AFC West. That's going to be a pretty good beatdown for some of these teams.
That's going to be tough.
I think because of that, Carolina's going to regress a little bit. But again, like we said, they're still the team to beat in that division.
Well, yeah, I mean, they lose 5 more games and they still go 10-6.
Yeah, they're still going to win the division. That's not going to be a hard feat for them to pull off. Can they get back to 15-1? Probably not.
No, 15-1s don't happen very often.
No.
Out of the other 3, do you see Tampa Bay? I don't think New Orleans will, but do you think that Atlanta or Tampa Bay have a shot at maybe climbing into wild card contention? I mean, could they be one of the teams that steps in for Minnesota?
I think Atlanta could hang around the edge of it, but I don't think that they'll be any serious threat. No.
The only one, I mean, again with Atlanta, you know what though? I learned my lesson in college with Alabama, and I'm learning my lesson this year with the Falcons. I'm not going to get on that bandwagon again. I think that they're probably an 8-8 team like they were last year, maybe worse. If everything goes exactly right, maybe they get to 10 wins, but I'm not going to say they're going to.
Over to the NFC West. Home to the division champion Cardinals, 13-3. Home to the Seattle Seahawks. They were a wild card, 10-6. Also home to the 49ers, who are going to be terrible. But the NFC West is also home to your Los Angeles Rams.
This is the most interesting division in football this year.
Yeah, this is going to be a hell of a division. And because Minnesota falling out, that gives the opportunity for this division to have 2 wild card teams.
Yeah, I think San Francisco, now look, I'm not going to say they're going to be good, but I'm very curious to see what Chip Kelly does with that team, because I think there was more talent on that team than their record would indicate last year. They could surprise some people. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but they're not going to be a pushover either.
Their quarterback is Blaine Gabbert.
I understand that. No one thinks that Blaine Gabbert's the next Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, but there's got to be a reason the guy has managed to stay in the league this long. I mean, there must be something about him that they like, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I think Chip Kelly, in terms of his NFL career, has been kind of found out.
Maybe I'm giving him a benefit of the doubt where he hasn't earned one. He might be. Who was the guy last year? What was that poor bastard that had the horrible press conference? And
who's their offensive line coach?
Tonslin or something like that was his name. Well, anyway, to give you, that gives you the perfect illustration of how important he was. We can't even remember who he was, but. Right. But I don't know. But the rest of that division, wow, it's going to be. I think the Rams are very interesting.
They're interesting, and I think the Vikings going down really opens up that wild card picture.
Yeah,
because you look at the rest of the NFC, and besides the team that were in the playoffs last year, now minus Minnesota, there's not a whole lot of talent. And if you can get to 8-8, if you can get to 9-7, it's a doable feat.
I think the Rams are the team that takes Minnesota's place in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to be because they went 11-5 or anything like Jeff Fisher said they were going to do on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
But I think they're good enough to go 9-7. And I tell you what, if he wasn't their coach, I'd like him a lot better.
I'm trying. So let me look at their schedule.
Yeah, I think they can do it. I really do.
San Francisco week 1 should win that.
Should win that.
Seattle at home, first game back in LA. That'll be a tight one.
I think they win that just because it's the first game in LA. Yep.
Yeah, if they can win that, that goes a long way. At Tampa, at Arizona, that'll be tough. Home against Buffalo, at Detroit, not home against New York. That's in London.
Ooh. You're sending a West Coast team to London?
Yeah.
That was probably scheduled. That
was scheduled before.
Yeah, okay.
They host Carolina, which will be tough. At the Jets, host the Dolphins. At the Saints, at the Patriots.
Go back to the first 4 weeks again.
At San Francisco.
That's
home
winnable.
At Seattle.
That's winnable.
At Tampa.
That's a winnable game.
At Arizona.
3-1 maybe. Now I'm not. They could go 3-1.
Well, okay. So start 3-1. Buffalo 4-1. Detroit 5-1.
Yeah.
Giants in London.
I'm going to give the Giants that one just because the time change is going to screw the Rams up so badly in that.
5-2. They come back and host Carolina. I'll say 5-3.
Yeah.
At the Jets.
Boy, that's a tough one.
That's a tough one.
It's winnable though, so they could be 6-3 at that point.
Host Miami.
That's a win.
At New Orleans.
Winnable.
At New England. That's a loss.
That's a loss.
Host Atlanta.
That's another winnable.
So we're at 7 or 8 already.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean.
Then at Seattle, host San Francisco, host Arizona.
Will they do it? Who knows? But the schedule's certainly set up in a way that they are capable of winning 9 games.
The Minnesota thing going down really throws a wrench there and opens this up.
With Minnesota being out of it like this, you look at the rest of the NFC, 8-8 might be enough to get you in as a wild card. Under normal circumstances, if Minnesota was better, if Dallas is healthy with Romo, I don't think the Rams are a playoff contender. But with the way things fell, they have talent on the defensive front, but that's the key. You've got to get pressure on the quarterback so that you don't leave those corners exposed as much. And the defense can be solid. Todd Gurley is going to be great. If Keenum can not kill him, I can see him winning 8 games, maybe 9.
It's got to be Case Keenum. I mean, Sean Mannion, it looks like Sean Mannion might even be the backup.
Goff. Wow, that dude's not good.
He looked like he had been improving. It looks like it's something where he just needs more time. There were times where the offensive line wasn't great and the pass protection kind of broke down on him, so he didn't really have the best opportunity to showcase himself in the preseason. But still, it's not the type of feeling that you want to get after sacrificing what the Rams sacrificed to get to that number 1 spot, to draft this guy who's supposed to be your future at quarterback, and he can't beat out Case Keenum and Sean Mannion.
Not beating out Keenum, you can almost understand because the guy's got experience and stuff. But Sean Mannion, who I liked when he played at Oregon State, I believe.
Yeah, Oregon State.
Good quarterback and all, but come on. And Wentz was the number 2 pick, right?
Yeah.
So this is what happens. This is where it makes things even worse. If Wentz comes out and plays well, and you've got Keenum, and then if Mannion's number 2 and Goff's sitting there, that's not something you want to see happen.
But Wentz wasn't even going to play until they got rid of Bradford.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that would be a little unfair, but at the same time, maybe not all that unfair. But
yeah, I like the Rams' chances. I mean, again, things had to fall a certain way for them to even be in this conversation, but those things fell the way they needed to.
Yep.
Now, the rest of the division, this is where is Arizona going to be as good as last year? Is Seattle back?
I think Seattle's going to be just as good. The Cardinals are interesting. I think here's the problem. Even if the Cardinals are as good as last year during the regular season, say they go 13-3 again, the way that they lost last year, the complete breakdown that Carson Palmer seemed to have had in that game, I don't know if that's one that you can come back from. The defense is still going to be very good. That's a defensive unit that has impressed me so much over the last 2 years, and they're pretty much intact. Offensively, if they can string together things like they did last year, they can be just as good in the regular season. But when it comes down to the playoffs, I don't know if the mental aspect of it will be there for them.
I like them in the regular season. I see them maybe making a run in the playoffs. I don't know that I'm ready to say Carson Palmer can take me to a Super Bowl. I so badly want to say Seattle's done, but I think they come back stronger this year.
It's hard because you and I have so much of a bias against Seattle Seahawks.
Yes.
Sometimes maybe that colors how I think of them, but they're probably still going to be right there. As much as we hate him, Russell Wilson just continues to get his job done somehow.
My bias is clear. I don't like them, but I've decided I'm not going to let that cloud my judgment this year. It's between them and the Cardinals, obviously, for the division.
Yeah. I think I still give the division to the Cardinals.
Yeah. I don't think the 49ers are going to be that terrible either, but I'll go Arizona, Seattle with the wild card. I'm going to give the Rams a wild card, and then you got the poor old 49ers there who might be entertaining, but probably not good enough to do anything.
Yeah, I go the same way, top to bottom, Arizona, Seattle, Los Angeles.
Yeah.
When it comes to the playoff picture for the NFC overall, the only team that falls out, of course, is Minnesota, and we plug in St. Louis there. I think we're the same everywhere else.
No, we plug in Los Angeles there, not St. Louis.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm already slipping up. We put Washington in there, Green Bay, Carolina, Arizona, Seattle, and Los Angeles.
Yes.
The favorites, man, Green Bay. I think there's 4 teams: Green Bay, Carolina, Arizona, Seattle.
Yeah.
And Arizona, I think, I don't know if they have the mental ability to get there. Seattle could. I think of those teams, you got to go with Green Bay.
When I was thinking about starting the show this year, my Super Bowl picks were Arizona and Pittsburgh. And then I started talking myself out of Arizona. I talked myself out of them a little bit more tonight. Maybe I'm crazy, but I'm going to stick with what I thought 2 weeks ago. I'm going to say Arizona goes in the Super Bowl this year.
So you still got your Pittsburgh, Arizona.
Yep.
I've got New England and Green Bay. Pick and chalk there, really. I guess the Patriots are the Super Bowl favorites until they're not. I don't know, man. I hate picking that, and I hate kind of being resigned to just, yeah, sure, whatever.
It takes the fun out of it, that's for sure.
Yeah, it does. In terms of Super Bowl contenders, Pittsburgh, New England, Green Bay, Seattle, Arizona. Maybe there's a team that surprises us. Maybe Carolina is just as good as they were last year. Who knows?
We went through the whole preview, but really, the more things change, the more they stay the same. It's really the same teams over and over again.
My Super Bowl pick, New England Patriots. Yours is the...
Pittsburgh Steelers beat the Arizona Cardinals in a rematch of Super Bowl whatever number it was in 2009.
If that ends up being the rematch, I hope the hell that it's the Cardinals that beat the Steelers.
I do, too. I'm telling you who I think will win, not who I want to win. I would want the Cardinals to win, but I think it'll be the Steelers. I think they pick up Super Bowl number, would that be 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, number 7 this year.
So that's our NFL National Football League preview. Things kick off on Thursday for Basically Football Show. That's Greg. I'm Zach. Follow us on all of our platforms. Subscribe if you haven't already. And get ready for some football every single week from here until February.
It was fiercely fought, but frightfully blurred. Let's take that over again.